Deadline day! What's going on, people? Welcome back to the channel. Football Therapy with me, your host, Jan. I'm gassed. I shouldn't be. Chelsea are 8 points of Arsenal in the Premier League on game week 5. Sickening stuff, but it's exciting because it's deadline day and Chelsea are looking to make some final moves after completing the sensational and excellent signing of Wesley Fofana. So welcome back to Chelsea News, of course the daily series here on the channel where I reflect on what's being said about the Blues, giving you my opinion on it, but more importantly asking for yours. I have a feeling that I am going to do at least 2 videos today, because you know what it's like on deadline day, and covering it here on this channel, it pops off all the time. I want to react to the stories as quick as possible, and we can do that together here on the channel. So thank you for joining me today. I appreciate you for dropping a like on the video. Takes a second, takes a millisecond, and it makes me feel good. You're welcome to subscribe should you choose to do so. Hit that sweet, sweet bell, baby. Alright, where to start? We are going to talk about Aubameyang completing his, or on the verge of completing his transfer to Chelsea. Chelsea's signing a midfielder. Prayers have been answered. We'll talk about that. First of all, Ben Jacobs is giving us an update on Billy Gilmour, who of course has been linked to Brighton, which would be an excellent club for him to be at and be manager in Graham Potter to be coached by. But because they've already loaned Levi Colwill, it wouldn't be able to be a loan. It would be a permanent move. So what's the situation with that? I shall tell thee. Thomas Tuchel will speak to Billy Gilmour later today before deciding whether to sanction a permanent move to Brighton. Chelsea are expecting an offer before the window shuts. Brighton can't loan Gilmour, like I said, the aforementioned reason. They already have Levi Colwill. They're doing quite well out of us, Brighton. Although Brighton are front runners, there are expected to be other straight loan suitors. That's why Tuchel's input is going to be important before any final decision is made. Well, Thomas Tuchel, I think he does respect what Billy Gilmour has. He probably has to recognise his success under Frank Lampard, but one gets the feeling that Thomas Tuchel doesn't really fancy Billy Gilmour, which is a shame because Billy Esther is an absolute baller. We'll see what happens. I think in the lad's perspective, for Billy's perspective, he will need to seriously consider about just going on another loan again. My green screen is flapping about all over the gaff. He will seriously have to consider going on another loan again because the Norwich loan was terrible, and he probably sees Brighton as a, excellent club to just go settle down and play some Prem football, definitely keep his place for Scotland, etc, etc, etc. We'll see what happens with that. We'll of course keep a close eye on it, so keep it locked to Football Therapy, and let's move on. No, am I not going to get another next story thing? There we go. Jesus Christ. Technical difficulties today in the Stamford Bridge studio, but we move. Of course, before we talk about Aubameyang, Chelsea have been looking at a central midfielder, or certainly the stories broke yesterday about Chelsea looking at a central midfielder. Of course, there's Sangare of PSV. There's I'm going to read you another updates from Ben Jacobs here. So he's talking about Cody Gakpo that will stay at PSV. Despite the efforts from Leeds and Southampton, Gakpo scored a hat-trick last night for PSV and will now sign a new deal. Always tough for the suitors since his current contract expires in 2026. But lots of excitement about Chelsea's links with Ibrahim Sangare, I think that's how you say it, especially with Gakpo staying. So I guess, another midfielder. But Sangare only signed a new deal 3 weeks ago. No offers was placed yesterday. There is genuine interest from Chelsea Football Club, and there's also interest in Edson Álvarez, but Ajax really don't want to sell. We'll talk about that in just a moment. With Sangare, I think he had a buyout clause in his contract before. That was a really reasonable fee, but when he's just signed this new contract like 3 weeks ago, like Ben Jacobs is saying. I understand, or I read somewhere that has removed the buyout clause, therefore not making it an easy deal to do. Chelsea looking for another central midfielder though, and let's talk about Álvarez. So of course he is of Ajax. Ajax have sold Martinez to Manchester United. They have sold Antony against their will, really, against Manchester United. Well, they made ridiculous money for him, but they would have sold him at the beginning of the window for like £40 million or something, the original quote. But because Man United was such fools in their transfer window, they ended up spending 100 million euros on him. And on deadline day, and I think, hasn't the window closed for the Dutch league yesterday or something, so they wouldn't be able to replace him. But Edson Álvarez, this is a tweet from Nicolo Shearer, journalist, of course, sports journalist, Italian, I'm assuming. He's cited quite often. Edson Álvarez is getting closer to Chelsea, who have offered around 50 million euros to Ajax. Ajax would be like the richest club in the world with no players at the end of this. Agreement in principle with the midfielder for a contract until 2027 with an option to further extend to 2028. So a 5-year deal with an option to make it 6. Agreement in principle, which, I don't understand this anymore, because that is tapping up, isn't it, when you're not for sale and you've agreed a contract with someone in principle. But the game is the game. That's how it works. You've got AFC Ajax, who obviously is a big Twitter account on social media that follows Ajax at the European lad. He's got like 350,000 followers. He has tweeted this last night. Breaking: Edson Álvarez is demanding Ajax start negotiating with Chelsea. He will earn 4 times the salary at Chelsea than what he earns at Ajax. And he is not sure whether a chance like this will ever arrive for him again. And this is his Twitter account is citing another journalist called Mike Verge. I'm assuming he's Dutch, and my pronunciation is poor. He works for Telegraph Netherlands. Wow. So I don't know if he's like not training yet, but he might have a touch of the Wesley Fofanas about him here, really trying to get that move done, Álvarez. If this looks like it's getting closer, the second video I do today on deadline day will pull up his stats and we'll get a little bit more excited. But Chelsea looking at a midfielder. As things stand, I don't know much about him. By all accounts, he's quite a good player. Of course, we've talked about Ibrahim Sangare before. He's been more mainstream. But Álvarez, could he be the one? Would he just slot into a Premier League midfield? Will Ten Hag over at Man United be like, oh, I wanted him too. I want all the Ajax players. I'm not so sure. But what is positive is Chelsea are already looking at central midfielders. But let's move on and let's talk about a transfer that looks like it's about to be completed. And that is Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Hopping over to The Athletic, David Ornstein article published but 10 minutes ago at the time of recording to get this out early. Titled, Chelsea on verge of agreeing to sign Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang from Barcelona. As Troops once said on AFTV. Chelsea are on the verge of an agreement to sign Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. The Athletic understands. Chelsea's latest proposal is this is pretty dope. Chelsea's latest proposal is believed to be worth around £6.5 million. Chef's kiss. £6.5 million plus defender Marcos Alonso, moving in the opposite direction. So it's an Alonso as well. But dude, still, that is a bargain in terms of, if you look at like the variables and the situation with Chelsea, we've got loads of left backs, all good ones. We've got 2 starting level, real top class left backs in Chile and Cuckoo. And Marcos Alonso, he's cooked, man. He's 31, 32. Granted, Aubameyang's 33, but Aubameyang is more useful than Marcos Alonso in this footballing climate, man. It's just the way it is. So 6.5. How much is Alonso worth? Like, genuinely. Like, bearing in mind Premier League clubs selling, never mind much, £10 million? So that's usually you're buying like Aubameyang for £16 million or something, which is great. I know they got him for free from Arsenal, but he scored a lot of goals for Barca. He, if you think about the value of him to our coach who's coached him before, who wants him, that is pretty darn good. Pretty darn good if you ask me. £6.5 million cash. Chelsea are also working to finalise terms of a proposed 2-year contract, which would include the option of an additional 12 months based on the player's percentage of performances in the second year. So that's quite good. So it's 2 years, which would assume him to 35. And if he's still banging in goals, then all right, you can have an extra 12 months. If he keeps in shape, if he wants to keep doing his thing, then that's pretty good. And to be honest, man, like, if he might score a few goals this season, and then we Brewer comes through, we want to buy another striker next summer, and we might sell him to like China with 12 months left on his deal. Like, that's still a possibility, and we might sell him for 6 million again and get the money back. Like, it is possible. You got to consider all facets of in the realm of possibility. It is believed that Aubameyang is still in Barcelona as the two clubs are negotiating. A new consideration for Chelsea is that the 33-year-old is believed to have had a broken jaw during the struggle with the invaders of his home in the Catalan city, was burgled on Sunday. Yeah, horrible, man. Like, yeah, we spoke about this, was it yesterday's video or the one before? Like, really, like, not just the fact how he's got this injury, a broken jaw in terms of how it will affect him physically in football, but genuinely traumatic, not just because he was attacked, but in front of his family as well. Like, that's serious shit, man. The injury was sustained as Aubameyang tried to protect his family and his house from a violent robbery, and it is anticipated to keep him out of action for a number of weeks. Well, there you go. The length of the layoff is likely to be determined by whether or not he undergoes surgery, with that option thought to offer a quicker return than waiting for the injury to heal naturally. Well, we can score the odd goal with Raheem Sterling. So, he could probably be on the sidelines for a little while. Really, the biggest issue with Chelsea is suddenly just not going really soft and conceding goals. And hopefully, ladies and gentlemen, Wesley Fofana going right centre-back, Reece James going right wing-back, and who knows, Álvarez going in the middle next to a Kovacic or a Kante. I mean, I'm not a Jorginho hater, but he's just been bypassed so easily lately that it's been a little bit concerning. Right, what do you think? Like I said, it's going to be popping off today. We could have more outgoings. Like I said, Billy Gilmour. There might be others that sneak out the door last minute. It's going to be very, very exciting, but it does look like Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang will be done, and who knows, Álvarez through the door as well. Should that story gather pace throughout the day, later on we'll look at his stats. Keep it locked. Thank you for liking the video and subscribing. I'll see you very soon. Check this channel throughout the day. Peace.